Hello. It's been a while, hasn't it? Um, this is basically going to be an unscripted little ramble. I'm sure there's some questions you have that I'm going to try to answer. But before we get to those, I want to get to the meat of this video and the reason I made it. And that is because I made a video, and not this video, but another video. And it's a video that I've wanted to make for a really long time, and I finally got around to doing it. It is the history of Wordle speedrunning. It is 95 minutes long, and it will be premiering November 9th, this Sunday, at noon EST. So now that that's said, let's address the obvious elephant in the room, right? So I have not uploaded a video or really had any activity on the channel, not just video, but community post, anything really, for almost 3.5 years. And I want to talk about that. So to talk about that, let's provide some context with this channel and this whole YouTube thing and this Wordle thing and everything. Let's go back to January 2022, the peak of Wordle. In my life, this is shortly after I had graduated university. And obviously, after graduating, I was looking for a job, and I was job searching. Now, during this time, and because we were all bored during COVID lockdown, I was doing some funny stuff with my friends, right? And one of the funny ideas I had is, what if I speedran this silly Wordle game? You know, it's a game you can only play once a day. It's everyone, doesn't really think about time on it, so it's kind of funny to try to speedrun it. And I did some research, and I found a speedrun, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll try to beat this time. And that's what I did. I did speedran a video, I uploaded to YouTube, and then I kept doing it a little bit more until I hit a goal, I uploaded them, and that was supposed to be it. It was not it, because those videos, by some algorithmic blessing, I suppose, got quite popular. And really not just those videos, but they got, they started hitting the thousands of views, and that was motivation to keep going. So I uploaded some more, and then some videos hit tens of thousands, and then hundreds of thousands, and before I knew it, I was a YouTuber. So, again, considering the original context, I was looking for a job at this point, and at some point during this whole funny YouTube Wordle blow-up, I was like, wait, this is kind of a job. Right? It's not like a full-time job. I certainly don't have the numbers to live off of this, but it's income while I look for something with my degree. And so I pursued it. And I pursued it around, February, March. I'm not sure exactly when I was like, oh, I've had this realization. But that was the point where I'm like, okay, let's try to take this algorithmic blessing, this luck that I've received, and let's try to make something of it. And for a few months, I treated it very seriously. I treated it like a job. I put in hours, not every day, but almost every day, ideas, recording, editing. And it was fun. Like, it's not to downplay it, when I say job, it kind of implies like a slog or an obligation. No, it was extremely fun. I look back on that time extremely fondly. And, it was cool to, kind of create... I shouldn't say create a community. I did not create the Wordle speedrunning community, but I definitely popularized it. And that was extremely enjoyable to do. And eventually, I transitioned into trying to make scripted videos. And I'm doing that as someone that has no experience in editing or voiceover or anything like that. But I did my best, and they were received quite nicely. And people were very kind, very supportive. And it was nice. So... Now I've said all that, the question is, okay, why'd you stop? So, pretty simple main answer to that, which is I found a job, right? I found a full-time job in my field, and it's a job that I still have, just to get that out of the way. This is not, I got a job and I lost it, now I want YouTube money again. No, I still have this job, and, I'm still working it and still part of my life. But originally, after getting it, I was like, okay, I've got to focus, all my free time, I don't have that anymore. I've got to focus on this life adjustment. So I took what at the time was a conscious break. It was like, okay, I'm going to step back from this YouTube thing, and I'm going to focus on this job, and then when I feel comfortable, I'll come back, right? That was the idea. That was the plan. But at the same time I got this job, it was around July 2022. That was the point where Wordle really dropped off the public consciousness. And all these factors combined, right? They kind of added up. And I had this new job, and I had this channel I was treating as my old job, and the old job wasn't going so well. And again, my intention at this point was not to quit, but it was to take a break. And the break started at 1 month, and then 2 months, and then 3 months. And I kind of got to a point where I realized, like, these video ideas that I had like a document of video ideas I was keeping track of for Wordle stuff, and I kind of realized every idea in that document I didn't really want to do. I was forcing it. Like, there was one video that I really wanted to do, and that is the Wordle speedrunning history video. That video, like, it feels inevitable on this channel, right? This was the channel that popularized Wordle speedrunning, and I really want to tell a story. And that video, I knew even at the time, was going to be an effort, right? It was going to be bigger than any video I had ever made at that point. And that effort was daunting. And, I already kind of fell out of the groove, right? With this full-time job and, my free time being shrunk. And, the habits I had been forming in the months prior when I was doing YouTube regularly, I kind of lost those, right? And so that small break turned into 6 months, and then a year, and then 2 years, right? And it was kind of like, oh, well, I guess it's done, right? Like, it was, man, I kind of wish I made that video, but I guess, it was a fun time. The YouTube thing was fun. I guess it's time to move forward with my life, right? And that's where it was for a long time. And now that leaves an obvious question. Why am I here again? Why am I giving you this update? Why am I talking to you? Why did I actually make the video that I wanted to make? And that's going to get to a little twist in this story, because I surely didn't see this coming. We're going to fast forward to last November, 2024. I got a stuffy nose, as some people do sometimes. It was cold season, but it lasted quite a while. So I went to the doctor. The doctor's like, oh, you have a sinus infection. Here's some antibiotics, take these, you'll feel better. Didn't feel better. So we kept going back, got more, nothing was working, and it was just getting worse. And about a month later, December, my nose was completely blocked, and I was getting these kind of headaches, right? I thought at the time they were sinus headaches. And, things were starting to get concerning, right? It's like, oh, I can't breathe through my nose and I'm in pain. So, understandably, a little scared. And it only continued to get worse. And by January, the pain had gotten intolerable. At this point in my life, I have been living on my own for about a year. And I was no longer able to do that. I was in too much pain. I couldn't cook for myself. I couldn't clean. I couldn't maintain the house. I was just dysfunctional. And my dad, God bless his heart, took me back in. And I went back to live with him. And in this period in January, the doctors were kind of stumped. They kept saying, this is going to work. I kept going back, saying it didn't work. And they're like, oh, we'll try this. Nope, this didn't work. Okay. And at some point, they gave me what are called corticosteroids, I think it's pronounced. I might be mispronouncing that. I'm not a medical expert. But they're basically, they're more frequently known as steroids. When I say steroid, you think like muscle enhancement, right? It's not that. It is inflammation reduction. And those were actually quite effective, for the little bit that they worked. I was like, oh, I actually feel almost normal for a little bit. And then it turns out that those have very significant side effects. So the doctors kind of gave it to me as like a stopgap because they were thinking the other treatment would work. And I ran out very quickly. And they didn't want to give me more, even though it was the only thing that worked. So this was about mid-January at this point. I am no longer getting the only thing that relieves pain. And it is worse than ever. And this period is going to last to the end of February. And this period, I'm going to be careful about how much detail I give, because I know a lot of you didn't click this video to hear about my, unpleasant medical symptoms. But this was the worst period of my life, unquestionably. This was it. Um, Basically every aspect of my face that could be in pain was in pain, except my ears. My ears, honestly, they got out of it pretty unscathed. Good for them. Everything else, terrible. And, in addition to that, I basically had no stamina. My energy was sapped. Like, a small walk, climbing the stairs makes me winded. A small walk makes me winded. And I really want to give emphasis on how bad my eyes were, because my eyes were extremely sensitive to light, like burning type sensation when exposed to even just regular day-to-day light. And that didn't mesh very well with my current living situation, which was bedridden. So my only entertainment was screens, but the screens hurt. So you can imagine it wasn't exactly a very fun experience. And with this whole period, the only treatment I was getting was Advil Tylenol. And Advil Tylenol is not enough to relieve this pain in any capacity. So I was basically just, experiencing all of this, untreated. It was not fun, to say the least. So let's get past that. Let's start to get to the good news. So in late February, this entire time, I was basically trickling through the medical system, trying to find a doctor who knew what the heck was going on. And I found one. Eventually, I got referred to a sinus specialist. And he didn't tell me this at the time, but he told me after the fact that he recognized what I had immediately. And he ordered some blood tests, and he confirmed it. And it was an illness. It was not a sinus infection at any point. It was an autoimmune disease. That is a disease of the immune system. The name, and I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, is granulomatosis with polyangiitis, commonly referred to as GPA. This is an extremely rare illness. It's something like 1 in 100,000 in the general population, and it's more common in people, over 45, I believe. I am 27, so this is a little unusual for me to be getting something like this, right? It was quite shocking to learn. And a couple important details. This is a deadly illness. If this was untreated, I would be dead within months. But, and the good news is that it is treatable. Now, it is not curable. This is an illness I am going to have to live with for the rest of my life. But it is manageable, and that is good news. And the way you manage it is with immunosuppressants. And that's what they started. So first of all, they put me back on the corticoids, the steroids. So I was actually able to kind of live again for a little bit. Started, March. Things got down a bit. I was able to actually, kind of live a life. And in the meantime, they put me on the immunosuppressants. Now, immunosuppressants take a long time to work. We are talking months. So originally, they put me on a lower grade one. And that lower grade one worked for a little bit. For a few months, I was feeling okay. And then around July, again, this is 2024, or 2025, that's how years work, years proceed. 2025, my eyes start acting up again. Now, it's different this time with the eyes, because before I described it as a burning sensation, right? It was light sensitivity, it was burning, I had to wear sunglasses outside. The times I went outside to go to the doctors was the only time I was able to. But this time it was like irritation. It was functionally pink eye. If you ever had pink eye, it's permanent pink eye. Not the worst in the world, but very irritating and very unpleasant, and to be honest, very ugly. It doesn't look great. So I went back to the doctors, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna put you on stronger immunosuppressants." And there were some delays getting that process. Insurance is fun. But eventually, late October, early September, I managed to receive those doses. And now we are in November. And I am waiting for those doses to kick in still. And we're going to see. Hopefully, things get better in the coming months. If they don't, there's other options. It's a treatable illness. I'm through the worst of it, and I'm very grateful for that. So even though I'm not 100%, I do feel mentally as if I'm on the other side of this, right? And an experience like that changes how you think about things. Even though I am, not perfect. I have this annoying eye thing, which is embarrassing and irritating. I'm not so bothered by it because compared to what I was going through, this is nothing, right? Like things that used to irritate me or scare me or depress me or whatnot, they don't bother me as much anymore. And that's a good thing, you know? It's a nicer way of looking at it, right? You know, I survived this horrible thing, and now I am stronger for it. That's how I'm trying to think of it in my head. So that was a ramble, and I wanted to say that because I think it's important context for why this video was being made in the first place. During that period of, like, horrible illness, where I didn't really know it was a deadly illness at that point, but I was like, okay, am I gonna die? Like, this is bad. I was having those kind of thoughts, right? And one of the thoughts that I had during that period was, man, and this is silly, but it's the kind of thing you think. It's like, man, I wish I made that YouTube video that I wanted to make. Like, it would have been so good. It's such a good story, right? Like, wasted opportunity, and now I'm gonna die of some mysterious illness and never having made it. And then I didn't die. So, you know, eventually, you know, August, September is when I started in my head being like, I'm on the other side of this. I'm not gonna go back to that hell anymore. We're through it. We're on the other side. It's time to start moving forward. And that was the motivation I needed. So this entire time, this years in between, no activity on my channel, the motivation wasn't there. I didn't have the thing that I needed to just start and just keep going. And this illness, as horrible, as scary as it was, it gave me that. And I put work into it. And that's, and you know, and it took me about 2 months. And when I first started working on it, I didn't think it was going to be 90 minutes. I was thinking like, oh yeah, it'll probably be like an hour, right? Like it's going to be long. I've got a lot I want to talk about, but I just kept writing and writing and writing. And then I recorded everything, and then I edited it, and it's like, oh, yep, we've hit 90. But we got through it. I'm proud of it. You know, as someone that's still very much an amateur in this whole video production thing. You know, I do everything myself, and I have no formal training of any kind. I'm proud of what I was able to do. And I hope if you watch it, you enjoy it. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about the future, because I don't want this to just be one video. But there's some hurdles, right? So, obvious one, Wordle's not exactly big anymore. Now, it has, at least in my subjective experience, it's made a bit of a comeback, right? Like, at least, you know, in my social circles, people are playing it again. I see people talk about it on social media more. It's made a little bit of a comeback. But it's not a topic that I can, like, endlessly produce content about without, as I said, forcing it. Like, in the way that I started to feel like I was forcing it all the way back in July, right? So I want to make videos, but I don't want to force videos. And I think the fact that I do have this job, and by the way, if it wasn't obvious, I was obviously not able to work that job during that entire period earlier, but thankfully they were understanding, they put me on leave, and I came back, so I still have the job. I am fine financially. That is no concern of me. Again, like, if you want to support me, support the video. Don't try to support me monetarily. I am perfectly fine in that regard. But because it's not something that I feel like I have to rely on anymore, I think I can adjust my mentality towards YouTube. And what I want this to be is not a job, but a passion. And because of that, before I was scared to make anything non-Wordle, right? It was like, oh, well, Wordle's my thing. All the viewers want Wordle. I'm going to make Wordle. But I'm not scared anymore to branch out. Now, I don't exactly know what I'm going to do after this. Like, I want to make more, and I have some ideas that I want to chase. But I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to be. Hopefully not 3.5 years again, ideally. But I want to make something. So I do want to return to this channel and, you know, make videos that people hopefully enjoy. I should mention as well, because I actually made 2 videos, but one of them's a short. So, you know, a little easier to make the short. And that's one thing I'm experimenting with, right? Shorts. So back when my channel was relevant, shorts were on YouTube, but they weren't as big of a thing, right? But over the last few years, just as a YouTube user, I've noticed, yeah, shorts are a lot more emphasized. They're a lot more popular. and there's something that I want to try. But it's definitely a new field for me, so I don't know how it's gonna go. Maybe I won't do Evershort again. Maybe I'll do tons. It's all options that I'm exploring, and I want to figure out exactly what I want to do with this channel. All I know is that I want to do something. I don't want to leave this here for years untouched again. So that's basically everything I want to talk about. If you've watched this whole thing, if you somehow got this video, like, I have no idea if YouTube's gonna show this video to people. Like, I have subscribers, but like, when your channel's been, dead for 3.5 years, I don't know what that does to the algorithm. So, whoever this trickles down to, and if you watch it, and if you watch this whole thing and you're here now, I appreciate that a lot. It's a little embarrassing, or a little, maybe I shouldn't say embarrassing, but nerve-wracking to just, rant about this thing. It's a personal experience, but I wanted to, right? I wanted to. I felt a sense of debt, I should say, a sense of owing my YouTube audience an explanation for why I vanished. Because I was never the biggest channel, but I did have fans, and I appreciate those fans, right? So I wanted to tell you why I stopped, what happened, why I'm back. And I hope that you join me on Sunday in watching that Wordle history video. I hope it does well, but if it doesn't, I am at peace, right? That's kind of, it's a healthier way to look at this platform. If you focus on the numbers too much, you'll go insane. That sort of, to a lesser extent, happened to me 3 years ago. I focused on the numbers, and when the numbers went down, I got real sad. Wasn't the reason I quit. I still wanted to make videos, but like, life combined with that drove me into hibernation, I suppose. But yeah, thank you for watching. I don't know how to end a video, so I'm just gonna call it now, and see you on Sunday. Bye.